All right, so we're going to start this week talking about biomes. And so before we get started, we need to know what is a biome and how does that relate to what we've been studying, which was ecosystems. So as far as size, there are many ecosystems within a biome. A biome is a region of Earth where the climate determines the types of plants that live there. The types of plants that grow in a biome determine the types of animals that will live there. So examples of biomes are deserts, grasslands, tundra, taiga, temperate forest, tropical forest, you might say tropical rainforest. So the climate, there's a difference between climate and weather. Climate is the overall long-term pattern of temperature and precipitation or rain that comes to a region, whereas weather is short-term. We would say, like the weather that we had this last week is not our normal climate for Central Texas. Okay, it was temporary, it was short-term. Normal Texas is pretty much dry. So climate and weather, different things. So we're going to color in the biomes that are in North America. Now, North America is a continent or a country? Yep, it's a continent. In fact, it has 3 countries within it. So the dotted lines represent the border between the United States, Mexico, and Canada. All of the other lines that are solid lines are biome borders. They want you to color the United States borders, or the dotted lines, in red. So we're going to trace over the dotted line. We're going to go around the Great Lakes here and then on up to right there. And then, of course, this one we're more familiar with. There is the outline between Texas and Mexico. And there is the bottom border. Okay? So we can check that box. We're finished with that. Now, the next step is supposed to be number 2, but we're actually going to go down to number 8. It says the Great Lakes and the lakes in Canada are freshwater. Find the freshwater lakes and color them pink. And so because sometimes people tend to color over the lakes, I think it's a good idea to color these first. So here is a lake in Canada. I don't know its name. Not real sure about those. There are 3 lakes there in Canada, and then we have the 5 Great Lakes. So we're going to color those in, and right there, and we're going to color in the box for water. Number 8. So we're going to check the blank. We did that. All right. Next, we're going to number 2, Northern Canada. Oh, north. That's option. This is a compass rose. And anytime you see a compass rose, usually it will have the N for north labeled, but it doesn't always have the rest labeled. So you need a mnemonic or a memory device to help you with that. Most people remember the opposite of north is south, but the east and west some can throw you, especially if it's an area that you're not familiar with. So people have told me that they use never eat soggy waffles, never eat sour watermelon, whatever you use to help you remember. I always remembered it was just we, W-E, and instead of ooh, E-W. Okay, so we is how I remembered it, and then north and south. So if we're looking for northern Canada and Alaska, it says they are tundra. They want them colored light blue. So if I'm looking on this map, I find Alaska is right here, and I'm going to start coloring it light blue. And while I color, we'll talk about this area, the tundra. Climate is oftentimes very cold, often covered in ice. And so there's not a lot of vegetation that grows there, or what does grow there doesn't grow year-round. And sad thing is, a lot of makers, when trying to draw a map of just the United States, sometimes they will take Alaska and they will put an offset down here. And I have actually had students that thought Alaska was an island out there somewhere near Hawaii, because map makers often draw it like it's a separate little island, and they draw it over here by Hawaii. And so I had kids go, I wonder what's always snowy up there when it's in the tropics. Well, it's not. That was just map maker's way of showing what that we could have all of the 50 states, not just the 48 continental. So there's 48 continental connected ones, and then 49 and 50 would be Hawaii and Alaska. So the tundra, you're going to color in the code, is light blue. Next, you're going to go, it says most of Canada is coniferous forest. It could also be called the boreal forest or the taiga. They want you to color this forest dark green. So we're going to color all of this dark green. Okay, now notice we get down here and it goes below the border. Well, guess what? Biomes don't really observe human-made borders. So that's kind of it crosses there. Here, it all crosses again, all of this by the Great Lakes. Now, coniferous forest are your evergreens. These are trees that don't usually have big leaves. They usually have needles or small leaves that they keep all year long. And so sometimes they're called evergreens. These are not your oaks and spruces and stuff like that. These are evergreen trees. So that's your coniferous forest. So color in coniferous forest. And I want you to know the other names for it, because sometimes you'll most often hear it called taiga, and you'll hear it called boreal forest. So those are names for the coniferous forest. Now it says the west coast of the United States, parentheses California, and is a deciduous forest, and the east coast all the way to the center of the country is a temperate deciduous forest, and they want that colored light green. So here is where California would be, and then here is our east coast of the United States, and all of this is called a deciduous forest. Now deciduous forests lose their leaves in the winter time, and these are your oaks and your maples and fruit trees and stuff like that. All of those. Actually, I think this part should be dark green also. Sorry about that. All right. So all of those are deciduous, and we colored them light green. Now we're going to skip down to number 11. It says the western edge of Mexico is temperate deciduous forest. Color it the same as you did the other temperate forest. So the western edge, here's Mexico, here's its western edge. Right there. All of that is also deciduous forest. Okay? So we did that one too. All right, next. We are looking at the Midwest, the middle of the country. This is temperate grasslands, also known as prairies. And so all of this in the middle is going to be colored yellow. Sometimes you'll hear this area called the breadbasket of the United States. The breadbasket because there's lots of wheat grown, which wheat is used to make bread, so they call it the breadbasket. And so we have the grasslands. Might want to include that they could also be called prairie. You might hear them referred to as prairie. Next one that we have is eastern edge of Mexico and Central America, Hawaii, and the Caribbean Islands. So there are Cuba and Caribbean Islands. Then this edge is Mexico. The eastern edge is also in that tropical area, which if you had to guess where the equator is in this area, and that's why we have the temperature that we